Welcome back to the Park Car Conversation. We are here, and every Monday we have the realest talks at Frontier Fine Cars. So if you know anybody that needs a car, I won't tell y'all somewhere that I don't believe in. This is a trustworthy place. If you could only see the vibe, and next month we're gonna get some of y'all here to actually see it for yourself. I don't know who needs to hear this thing. I don't know who needs to hear this thing, but we have the one and only Muscle. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for actually inviting me, because if they don't know, I'm usually here for moral support on the other side of the camera, but now I get to sit and speak to you in front of the camera.
And that could be you. Yeah. And on top of, not only can that be you, but we have Lovelace candles here. We're going to go through our email list, but if you have emailed us, we're going to get back to you. And if you would like your brand to be showcased here at the Park Car Conversation, send us an email, letstalk@jlucci.com, and we can get something happening. And the support that you've always shown us, this could also be you. You just support us, and you never know, we can have a talk about something. And specifically today, we're going to be talking about growing up without a father.
For sure.
It was something that when we had initially spoke about, well, you know, what will we speak about on the Park Car Conversation? If you all know, vulnerable, sometimes it's uncomfortable to talk about these conversations. Sometimes it's hard to share some glimpses of our life that maybe not be the prettiest. You know, Muscle kind of shared with me, he's like, you know what, I've actually never spoken about this. He brings big artists into Toronto. Okay, if you ever see the big artists, Jamaican dancehall artists, and them, he's always on the flip side of interviewing, and you're always, you know, talking about entertainment. But today we're diving a little bit deeper. And so, what was growing up without a father? What did that look like for Muscle?
What did that look like? Okay, I would say back then, especially when you're younger, you probably didn't really notice it, because the area that we're in, Metro Housing, a lot of kids, they didn't have fathers also. So we're learning the oily things, the manly things from each other. We don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's what we learned. So it wasn't until you're older and your friends tell you about stories about, hey, my dad used to do this. He used to show me how to change a tire. He used to show me how to shave. He showed me when to put on boxers opposed to brief. Those type of little things there is what you don't really know you missed until you got older.
And I probably wouldn't have thought about that, because I mean, if I think about men who didn't grow up with fathers, I'm thinking you learned these things from your mother.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe it is from the mandem, right?
You will. There's certain things your mom could teach you and show you, but there's certain nuances that a father would show you that a woman, it doesn't matter how good she is, she just doesn't know, because she's a woman. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just a cologne that you wear. How you said something. Every time my dad went and go chop the lumber, he came in smelling like this or doing this. Those little nuanced things, you just won't know. And there's a lot of, don't get it twisted, there's a lot of great men that I know, successful men that grew up without fathers. Just like I know a lot of great ones that grew up with fathers also. But what I find the biggest difference with the ones that grew up with fathers, without fathers, the one without fathers, they have this special thing inside of them, this drive, this want to do better than where they're coming from. That kind of drive is in most men that I know that grew up without fathers.
I mean, so let's dive a little bit into it. Do you know who your dad is?
Yeah, I spoke to him three times. Once when I was 13, because he lives in Texas. So I went to Texas, met him. And since we're going to be real, I'm going to be 100% real. First time I met him, I went to the house, big house in Texas. And these times I was a real thief. I would steal anything, especially stuff that was nailed down, because I want to take it. Went to his house. Yeah, okay. Looked around, seen an envelope with some money. So I said, okay, let me take a couple of bucks out of this. He's not going to miss it. Next day, went to the record shop, bought some records. Said, hey, did anybody see the money that was inside of this envelope here? I'm not talking, because it wasn't me. I didn't take anything. Yeah, by process of elimination, he figured out it was me. And what did he do? This was a lesson that I learned. He didn't yell. He didn't beat me. He didn't scream. he kept the records and kept the receipts. He said, okay, this is what you want. I'm going to keep it from you. And that was my first and probably only lesson I really learned from him, where you don't always have to get mad. You don't have to get angry. You have to teach them a lesson in a real way that's going to matter. And that was the first lesson I learned.
Okay, that was the first lesson you learned. That was when you were 13. First time you're meeting your dad, you go to Texas. Well, you said met him 3 times.
Met him once, spoke to him 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What prompted the second speaking to him?
The second time, first time I went, I was 13. My mom died when I was 14.
Wow.
And he called and he said, okay, I'm coming to the funeral. I'm going to pick you up in Buffalo and we're going to do all this. Never heard back from him until about 20 years after that.
Wow. Did you think at that time that he was going to show up for your mom's funeral?
Well, I didn't have a reason not to think so. And as I said, I've never really interacted with him. You're a child. Somebody says they're coming. You figure they're not. So once he didn't come, that was a second lesson I learned. You need to keep your promise to your children. If you're going to say, listen, I'm going to show up. If you're not, tell me why. You know what I mean? And that really left a real bitter taste in my mouth right there. It's like, boss, met you once. Okay, cool. I fucked up the first time. Hold on. You're allowed to swear?
Can't swear. This is part of our conversation.
All right. First time met him. Okay, I fucked up. So then second time, you as an adult, you fucked up. So then how do we deal with this now? Because it left a real bitter disdain in my soul for this man. It's like, boss, I don't know you like that, but at the most important time in my life, you don't show up, bro. So then that was the second lesson I learned there.
I just needed a second to absorb that, to be honest, because I'm thinking, in retrospect, I'm not even in your situation, but that probably is one of the most pivotal times in anyone's life, losing your mom. Yeah. And that being your only parent figure, I would assume.
Yes, because we lived with my mom. It was me and my sister, but it also had my aunt. So my aunt was always like my second mom. Right. So then when my mom died, she just basically filled in the gap and took over from there. So she was my real parent from there moving forward.
I could understand the disappointment. And I think that is a very real lesson, just for not even just people who didn't grow up with a dad, but just parents in general. People in general, stand on your word. If you're going to tell someone you're going to do something, and especially children, even teenagers, they still need you. They're going to look forward to the things that you say.
Important time, like something like that. We're not talking about, okay, if you didn't show up to a graduation, it might still be bad. But not showing up to the one parent that died and you're supposed to be the second one, even though I don't know you like that. Nah, man, I couldn't stomach that one.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and then bring us to the third time you spoke to him.
Third time I spoke to him was probably 2019. My uncle was passing through the mall. He said, hey, look, your dad's on the phone. I said, okay. Passed me the phone. The first thing I said, hey, boss, what's going on? He sent me 100,000. And it's like, my uncle looked at me like, yo, what are you, crazy or what? But at this time, I have such a deep disconnect, almost disdain for you. So it's like...
Now you're a big man at this point, 2019, yeah.
Big man. I'm a big man now. This is just about 5 years ago.
Right.
So then it's like, it wasn't good interaction, but I still don't have no hate. I just don't really deal with that side of my life.
Do you truly mean that? Because when I do know a lot of men who don't have an interaction with their dad, and they'll say, I don't actually have no problem. You know what I mean? He had to do what he had to do. Maybe that's his journey in his life. Some of them are like, if I see him, it's hands-on with him. Yeah. But is that something that you more prompted to say, or genuinely deep down, if you were to ever be face-to-face with him, do you think you would be like, yo, listen, no problems, no hair, or is it a problem? I don't know who needs to hear this today, but if you walk into Frontier Fine Cars or fill out a form online and tell them that the Park Car sent you, you will get $500 towards a down payment of your car off the bat. This is for the people with no credit, with bad credit, working on your credit. You will not get denied. They work out the best low interest rates, low payment plans. They have an extensive fleet of vehicles. But if you see a car that's not there, they will outsource it for you just to ensure that you have a seamless process. I personally would not steer y'all in the wrong direction. I know enough people that have gotten their cars at Frontier Fine Cars. So from us to you, enjoy the rest of the episode. Is it a problem?
No, man. I'm at this point in my life. That's almost like us speaking about it now is the only time I really remember about something. That part is totally in this corner here.
Sure.
Been doing what I've been doing for a long time, so I'm okay with it now. There wouldn't be, hey, let's fight here now. But I don't know if it's going to be, hey, let's hug. I don't know if you say, hey, dad, or hi, father. I don't know.
Or first name basis. I have some brothers that call my dad as first name basis, actually.
You see, because we grew up in a different time where big people, it doesn't matter who they are, you respect them. Even if I said Mr. XYZ, I wouldn't just say Joe. You understand? So, really.
That's a note. I don't know who needs to hear this, but please call big people by, a respective manner. The first name basis is never okay.
Never.
And so how would you think that absence of a father, like what did that translate now that you're a big man, right? Because there's someone that's going to watch this that doesn't have a father. They might be teenagers. They might be adolescents, but now you're grown, right? Yeah. How did that affect your masculinity, or did it affect your masculinity?
As I said, it was really, you had to go outside to learn. So then, okay, now you're going from a young boy to a teenager. You're starting to discover things about yourself, about your environment. So then as a man now, you're not going to probably be 100% comfortable talking to your mom. If your dad was there and he was talking to you on a level, you might talk to him a bit more like. So my thing was, it never really affected my masculinity per se, but I know there's certain things about me that most men, even in this room, do that I don't do. For one, I don't watch sports. I don't like sports at all. Again, most people, their dad, their uncle, their cousins, they're watching sports. I don't watch sports. I don't fix anything on a car. I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know a starter from a... I know where you put in the gas. That's where I know. I know how to turn on the engine. But when it comes to fixing a car, that's not what I do. Because again, I think that's something more a father would teach a son. Say, hey, Sunday morning, let's go fix this car here. And let me show you. Another thing that I don't really do that most guys do would be, I'm not really handy with tools, but I'm amazing with a computer. That's my thing. If I need to fix something in the house, my wife's looking at me. I'm looking at my phone. Who do I call to fix this? I'm not fixing it. But again, that's something your dad would show you. Okay, he has this toolbox downstairs. This is a Phillips screwdriver. This is this. This is what you do. And it's those little super nuanced little things that you miss on. You know what I mean?
Does it feel like a miss?
In my daily life, no. But sometimes in conversation. When everybody's speaking about basketball and you say, hey, yeah, he did something from the free throw line, you got to think, where is the free throw line? Wow. When they say, okay, he fouled him, what does that mean? And again, this is real. I'm not making this up. Like, I don't know how do you foul somebody? When somebody's playing soccer and they have all these players, I don't know what these guys do. Because that was never my thing. I never had anybody to watch sports with. Say, hey, come, let's watch sports. That wasn't my thing.
So let's talk about like what that meant and looked like for your family dynamic. So your mom, did she have any like male influences or role models around you, or was it just like you and her until, her passing?
It was more my aunt and my uncle. But my uncle was only around until, say, about 16. So yeah, you've seen him from your kid growing up. But a lot of stuff he taught me, I still take to me with this day because he taught it to me. You know what I mean? But a lot of stuff I learned as an adult, I had to learn in the streets. Whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, that's where I learned. Again, you're dating girls. When do you go from wearing briefs to now? When do you go from wearing underpants to briefs? And that's a simple thing that a lot of people don't really look at. But your father would say, boy, yo, time to put on boxers now. You know what I mean? But your mom wouldn't really know that. Great women, but there's certain things that they just won't know. And it's not their fault. It's just, this is a situation now. We got to deal with it.
And so, I mean, as you're saying that, I'm translating that into a very realistic time in my life, right? With my son, he has a dad, right? And one time we got into it about him cleaning himself, hygiene, right? And he was just like, my son's dad, I think he'd be okay with me talking about this. He didn't have a dad, like met his dad once, right? So he was really like, the perspective I have raising his child is like, he did not have a dad. So everything for him, in a sense, is like, my mom did it for me.
Yeah.
So that's what it should be like for you. And sometimes we've gone into it and I'm just like, well, I don't have the parts that you have. Like, you're here. You teach him how to clean those parts. Yeah. And he's like, well, who do you think taught me? And I'm like, but it doesn't matter about who taught you. Like, I feel like sometimes, and that's why I really when you said, let's bring this up, this topic is relevant because there are men out there who didn't have dads who now are dads, and they don't know what to do with this space, right? That this space is kind of foreign, so they're kind of just like going with the flow, things that they've been taught as from their mom. But like, what would you say to someone out there who didn't grow up with a dad, now who is a dad? Yeah. And are you a dad?
No.
You're not a dad? Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, but what would you say to people who are dads, who didn't grow up with dads in this perspective? Like,
Okay. Even without saying to them, what I've noticed is I find that a lot of good guys that didn't grow up with a father, they almost overcompensate with their children to make sure that they're being the best version of who they can be for their children. They'll talk to them. They'll say certain things to them. They'll quiz them. They'll ask them about their day. They'll make sure that they're extremely active in their children's life. That's one thing I really notice with a good father that didn't have a father that's trying to be the best father that he can right now. I mean,
are there traumas? Do you say in your present life now, as a grown man, you feel like, okay, this is kind of traumatic? Like, obviously, it gets brought up. So now it's brought up, you'll think about it. Like, are there emotions that are brought out of you, even having this conversation? You're like, this is going to be a little uncomfortable. Like, I might get a little choked up, like this might be a little bit emotional for me.
You see, okay, since we're talking, you see, since I was 14 and my mom died, I have two sides to me. I feel everything. I feel everybody's emotion. I feel everybody's pain. I feel everybody's joy. But I have a really cool side to me where it's almost like I don't feel anything. I see what you're saying. I could see you crying, and it doesn't affect me because that's how I've learned to deal with things. Sometimes you just put things in a box and you move forward. Other times you're going to sit down and think about things, but the majority of my life, it's not, man. You just put in a box, moving forward. So I don't really have any trauma that I could really think about. But you have thoughts. Again, as I said, the stories about how do you approach a woman? The first time you have sex with a woman, what is that supposed to feel like as a man? And these are the kind of conversations that a woman could never tell you. And it doesn't matter how beautiful they are, how nice they are, how lovely they are, how caring they are, how educated they are. There's certain things they just cannot tell you.
Women or men and men are two different things. I think we want to set this straight. We're in a very forward generation where, a lot of women even are more dominant in that sense, where we have more masculine traits, right? But I probably would definitely let it be known that women and men definitely think about things differently. We feel 100%. Things differently, for sure, 100%.
But it's just like a single father raising a daughter. There's only certain things that you could tell her, show her, instruct her, and mold her in. But there's certain little specific things that you can't. It's just, we're not made that way. As human beings, there's a man, a woman, come together, create this child. You do your 100%, let me do my 100%, because it's not 50-50, it's 100-100. But a lot of times when that 100 is missing, you'll get most of what you need, but there's still going to be certain things that you just do not know. And it's okay. You know what I mean? It's okay. Especially because I don't want any woman that's a single mother, either by choice or not by her choice, to feel like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. I know what I'm talking about, but it's okay. Because there's certain situations you don't choose to be in the situation. Sometimes you do, but you have to do the best you could do with the cards that's dealt with you right now.
You know what that triggered a thought in my mind? You know when Father's Day comes around, maybe this is a me thing. I don't know anyone else feels the same way. When Father's Day comes around, and I see women saying Happy Father's Day to me, it bothers me. I don't know. It's a me thing. Maybe maybe other women they're like I take on the role of both. But I distinctively know from my own personal experience, right? Like I didn't live with my dad until I was 14. But I do know there are certain things that I learned from my dad that my mom for sure could have never taught me. It's just mechanically, it's just two different experiences, right? But I do think for, as you're saying, speaking to single moms who might not have a present dad or father to their children around, I think that probably one of the most important things I would take out of that is to have male influences, like 100%. Positive role models. Because I go to my brethrens all the time for my own son. If I can't get a hold of his dad, and I'm like, yo, the kid is asking me this. I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do with this. You know what I mean? Even in terms of like dealing with his emotions. Like, as a female, I might deal with emotions completely different. No? You're saying wrong?
No, I'm saying good one because that right now, if you look around and you see all of these killings on the road and stuff, and I'm pretty sure, again, I'm not a scientist. I don't know. But if you take all these kids that's killing people and stuff, and you say, okay, let's go take a step back. What was your household like? Did you grow up with a father and mother? Was it a loving household? And I'm pretty sure a good chunk of them would say they didn't grow up with a father, because a father would teach you how to resolve conflicts as a man.
A good father.
You know what I mean? A good one. How you resolve this conflict as a man. You know what I mean? There's a time for peace and there's a time for war, It's not always war, but it's not always peace. A man would guide his son, a good man would guide his son and tell him, this is how you do it. And I'm pretty sure outside wouldn't be as crazy as it is right now. But again, we're not blaming the mothers, because they did not know. They can't get into their son's head the way they need to. We fear our mothers, but we respect our fathers. That's a big difference. You understand? Mom, oh, I'm afraid of mom. Oh, everybody's afraid of this guy's mom. But you see, when dad comes through, respect that. Two different things.
It's funny you say that, because I'm thinking about my own son. And there is a level, even though, he spends more time with me, I let it be known for whatever reason. Like, I want him to have that, not a fear of his dad, but like, men and women have a different relationship. So I make it very clear, like, do you want me to call your dad? Yeah. I'll use that. I'm like, yo, you want me to call your dad? You know what I mean? But like, he'll run me sometimes. I'll talk to him 2-3 times, and I'm like, listen, you're not listening to me. I'm gonna call your dad. No, don't call your dad. I'm like, why do you think that is though? Actually, this is just my thought. Like, why do boys, like as a little boy, why do you listen to your dad just one time? His dad will say something one time, he's like, yeah, I'm listening.
When you hear that bass in his voice, it's a different.
I got a deep voice muscle.
You're acting. You're putting it on.
Okay.
But you see, when you hear that bass and it rumbles here, it's a different story. And a lot of good fathers don't even say too many words. For me, says 3 words, that's good enough. You understand? Mom, no, again, it doesn't matter how good they are and everything. You're more afraid of your mom. I don't want licks from my mom. I don't want my mom to be mad. Mom, I'm afraid of her. You respect her too, But there's a different thing inside of dad when you hear that bass in his voice. Then you say, okay, you know what? I got to listen now.
At this age now, would you ever explore not rekindling, or maybe like, do you want to sit down with your dad or the man who brought you into this world?
I would say, yeah, because even if it's not for relationship, hey, I love you, you love me too, that type of purposes, you want to know even medically, what is the medical situation on his side of the family? Did his mother die of anything? Did she live till she was 100? How are you doing medically? Is it something that I should look out for? How are you as a person? Even what type of mannerisms do you have that I might have also? You know what I mean? One thing I know about my dad is he's good with numbers. That's one thing where I know we're similar. Because my mom got off the phone cussing. One day she called him and said, yo, she needs some money for school or something like that. And the way how quick he calculated how much it would cost after she told him, she got mad. Because listen, why is this man calculating so fast? And it got her mad. But I remembered that, and I'm always good with numbers. When it comes to add, subtract, multiply, divide, that's my thing. So I know that's something that we share. Besides that, I don't know anything else. Medical-wise, I don't know anything else.
Does that low-key, even if you don't, does that make you actually proud? Like, maybe you didn't have a relationship with him, but like, you know what? Me and my dad both are good with numbers.
That's just something that sticks in my mind. I could say, okay,
what
there's
does it do to
something
you?
that there's some kind of connection here. You know what I mean?
So, I mean, my dad, I have 5 brothers, right? And not all my brothers actually have a good relationship with my dad. And so sometimes I'll speak to them on my own conversation, and they'll like put similarities together. The ones that really don't like my dad, they'll be like, I know this about him, and that's like me.
Yeah.
And they have a resentment, big time resentment.
Yeah.
My little sister's in the crowd. She knows it, right? And maybe they'll watch it, right? But I always think in my head, I'm like, when they talk about this resentment that they have towards their dad, some part of me sees like the innocent like kid inside of them where that actually makes them excited. Like, oh, me and this man have something similar, but they have that like male ego, that complex that has to be like, yeah, but like, fuck that guy still. You know what I mean? We're like that, but fuck that guy.
Yeah, because it's always good. As humans, we like to share with people. We like to know that we exist with other people that have some of the same traits, interests, and feelings that we have. So to know that, yeah, okay, you do this thing and this is where it came from. Hey, my grandfather might have been a mathematician too. Or this, so then you know, okay, This is something that I'm carrying. But then besides that, it's like, okay, yeah, you're good with numbers. So what? What next? And that's really where I see things, you know?
So you could say you could put all your ego towards your aside to your dad. If you were to ever have a conversation with him, it would just be like, just you've let go of it.
Yeah, I'd
like if your dad was watching this right now, what is something you would say to him or want him to know?
It's nothing. Not one thing. It would be like a lengthy conversation, because if you're losing your mom when you're 14, you don't even really know your mom either. You understand? So you're going to ask him, okay, where did you meet? Where did you meet my mom? How did you guys get together? Why are you guys not together? You're in the States. I'm in Canada. Did she go visit you? Was it a sneaky link? What was it? How did we get here? And then we roll into more conversation, because you're not... If somebody's a part of your life and they didn't kill you, they didn't do anything that's going to send you to jail, we could sit down and have a conversation. That doesn't mean we're going to be the best of friends after the fact, but we could have a conversation just from clarity and understanding. And
do you ever have the sense where, like, if you were ever to talk to your dad, you'd want him to know how good you turned out even without him? Because I feel like that's something that a lot of there are going to be people who are watching this from my personal experience that don't or didn't have a relationship with their dad. They need their dad to know, like, listen, you jackass, you weren't here. My mom did it by herself. This is how I turned out. And I need you to know this because I went through all these moments without you. You didn't teach me shit. You weren't here for this. I needed you here. But you know what? I need you to know that I'm okay. Is that a similar a feeling? Can you relate to that, or it's different?
I don't know if that's what I would be looking for, but if he came to me and said, listen, I've seen everything on his own volition, said, I've seen everything you did on your own for the last couple of years, and I'm proud of you, that's a different conversation. You know what I mean? Opposed to me saying, I did this without you. You know what I mean? Because regardless, I'm going to do it. But for you to turn around and say, you know what? Even if he doesn't say, I'm sorry, I wasn't there, whatever the case was, he said, listen, I'm proud of you for doing this. That right there, now we have something to talk about.
What would that feel like?
It would feel good. Who doesn't like to be admired by their peers, much less their parents? For your parent to say, yo, I'm proud of you for charting your own path, something that they probably wanted me to be. I wanted to be an electrical engineer. It didn't go that way, but I'm still here and I'm still very good at what I'm doing. So that might have been, they said, okay, why don't you go to school and get all of this done? But I didn't. But for you to say, I'm proud that you sat down and, hey, you sit down and talk to people that seem important. I'm proud that you do that, that I charted my own way. And you're proud of that? That means a lot.
I think I would love for my own experience to see my dad have that conversation with some of my brothers, for sure. There's a lot of male ego there. So the conversations actually never go that way. But I think that is a very healthy way of going about it. Just to like kind of own up. Maybe you don't have to say sorry. One thing that I have learned about this journey, even in my own parenthood, but seeing my dad go through it, it's like it's still his first journey here on earth too. So as a kid, right, a lot of, even my brothers, they look at my dad like, you were supposed to be this person, but he's just figuring his own life out, as we all are, right? And so maybe, I don't know, maybe who needs to hear this, but offering your parents a little bit of grace, because it's also your first time here on earth. Maybe, even as a parent, it's difficult with the, life, economy, who knows what it looks like, right?
Some parents know, some fathers know, others don't. I get it because of something they might have went through in their childhood. They didn't know any better. They might have seen, if your parents are alcoholic, one or two things generally happen. Either you become an alcoholic or you stay far away from alcohol. So a lot of fathers that seen there was no father, in their mind, oh, this is normal. Or the second group of people, oh, there was no father, I know how that made me feel. You understand? I seen everybody with their dad at graduation. I know how it made me feel. So I'm not going to make anybody else feel like this too. That's a second group of people. It all depends on where you fall in. You understand? You see like how you like to have conversations like this? You might be the catalyst that gets your father and your brothers together because you're the one.
Well, I've tried. Sometimes it's me pulling them apart on the floor outside. Like, it's not good. I haven't gotten there yet. Yeah. And I don't think, honestly, there's some brothers, I don't think it'll ever happen. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to lie. It'll never happen. They'll never have a conversation.
Life is funny. Even if it's on his deathbed and he looks at people in their eyes and said, you know what? I'm sorry. You understand? This happens time and time and time again. When you're on your deathbed there and you're thinking about your entire life, your triumphs, and especially your defeats and where you could have done better, that's going to spark something different in you. And even if that's the only time you say, you know what, I could have done better, or I'm sorry, that will mean the world.
I would like to think so. That actually spoke to my spirit right now. I've actually thought about it. I'm like, yo, what would that look like actually? Because I've heard some nice things about, like, even if my dad was to die, that's your dad, not my dad, I would piss on his grave. You know what I mean? But I think also that's
with words,
maybe that would change.
With actions, it's different. There's
a void.
If this guy walks in here now, I'm going to kick his ass. And generally, if this guy walks in, you might be a little mad, but you're not really fighting. You know what I mean? That's just words. That's anger that you feel. But then when it really comes down to it, is that what you're going to really do? Some people might. Some of them. Most people aren't.
Yeah. Leave us with I don't know who needs to hear this, and it could be to a male who's now in his adult age, who's navigating life as a male in his masculinity, who didn't have a dad. What would you to say to him? It's like, I don't know who needs to hear this, but
I don't know who needs to hear this, but you're gonna be okay. You're gonna do good, whether your father was there or not, you're going to be okay as long as you make it up in your mind to be okay, in your soul to be okay, you'll be okay. That's what's going to happen.
And we put out there to let go of some resentment?
It's not. But
we're not entitled to say give up the resentment.
But who says that there's real resentment though? It might be, you might just be hurt, you might be sad, but who's to say that it's real resentment? What if you connect with this man and you really do not like this man? You understand? So it's not, you're hurt because you figure that, okay, my father should be here too. He should take me to the baseball game. He should, let's go fix some cars together. Let's go fishing together. Right. But if he's not, we'll be okay.
Well, I just want to close off. I don't know who needs to hear this, okay? If you didn't grow up with a dad, and you're a dad, be a dad. Don't follow the same pattern where you saw your mom do it all, so you got to do it all. The math is not mathing. It doesn't make sense. Why let your child experience the same things that you had to experience? Whether that made you the man who you are because you didn't have it, just don't do it, okay? You have the ability to change the cycles, breaking generational cycles and breaking these curses. It's a real thing. And I think, unfortunately, this topic, it's plagued in the Black community, unfortunately. but also just in all communities. There's just too many people who are going to grow up without a father by choice. Sometimes not by choice. I will, there are a lot of women who keep men away from the children. That's also wicked. If your child's father has the opportunity to be in their life, let them be in their life. Because there's like we discussed, there's certain things that men and women differently can impact a child, and it's not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Father's Day, it's not your day. Yeah, Mother's Day. That's just a me thing. But no, I appreciate you here. And like I said, on Parker Conversation, if even one person takes something from these conversations, then that's good. That fuels my spirit as it is.
I agree. One thing I want to leave you with is this. Hurt people, but sometimes hurt people fix people also.
Ooh,
you just got to choose what person you are.
I like that. Respect. Peace. That was good. I don't know who needs to hear this thing.